Hi, and welcome to GHTC 2021. This panel is the Tech Innovations for Healthy Aging. The United Nations General Assembly declared 2021-2020 to 2030 the decade of healthy aging that brings together governments, civil society, international agencies, professionals, academia, the media, and the private sector to improve the lives of older people and their families. Both AARP and CTA Foundations have common goals of linking older adults with technologies that enhance their lives. In this panel discussion, the speakers will share past and ongoing programs they have been working on that bring innovative solutions to the older adults. I'd like to introduce our moderator, Joseph Wei, who is the Managing Director at Technology Ventures Group, which advises startups and corporations on business strategy and product innovations. Take it away, Joseph.
Hi, good. We'll be on the West Coast, and it's good afternoon. And actually, at the East Coast, it's also good afternoon. But for international people, then wherever time zone, good morning, good evening. Thank you for attending this panel discussion. I think it's a very interesting. It's a dear topic of mine, and hopefully this is just a kickoff to bring the awareness, and we have more discussions on this particular topic of technology to help with people with healthy aging. And today we have two panelists who are much more have been looking at this and supporting this cause much longer than I have. So I'd like to introduce them. Let me share the slide. So you saw the last slide. So so the first speaker is Michael Phillips. He's been with AARP for more than 18 years, focusing on industry partnership, education program, and also their innovation lab. We met actually at the Michael's headquarters about 2 years ago. It's very interesting that AARP has been obviously a strong force in helping people who are in the older adults arena to get more support through technologies. And they also started with Innovation Lab, and I'll let Michael talk to you a little bit more about his organization. And the next speaker is Steve Ewell. He's the Executive Director of CTA Foundation. And CTA, Consumer Technology Association, actually puts together the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas every year with 200,000 people attending previously until the pandemic. And the CTA Foundation's mission actually is to link seniors and people with disability with technology to enhance their lives. So Steve also has actually introduced to one of his colleagues who used to work in the Silicon Valley, and we met up a few times about collaboration opportunity between some of the work that the foundation has been working on, and also with the local ecosystem partner. And let me start out with a little bit background information. So as Scott introduced, so in December, United Nations announced the 2021 to 2030 is the decade of healthy aging. And they actually set up an organization with the website decadeofhealthyaging.org as a platform to basically collaborate with the different people around the world to share information and technology information around how to enhance people as they age. So this is the website if you want to go to find out more information. It's relatively new. They have started some posting on the website. And so in the last century, and you got this graphics, wait a little bit. So in the United States population, it was more of a pyramid where the younger people in the bottom majority of the population. As you see, this animation shows that by 2060, the distribution of the age would be quite evenly from people of different ages. And innovation actually in the space for healthy aging has been quietly going on for many years. And our speakers will touch upon that. And here's a chart from a company based in Israel called the Gerontechnologist. And they capture some of the startup in this chart in the space for health, wellness, senior living, and independence living. And these are the list of startups that are involved in those areas. So I don't plan on giving too much of a presentation, but more taking questions from the audience and have the speaker explain a little bit about how their organization and what programs they have to support this particular topic of technology, tech innovation for healthy aging. So start out with, okay, Michael, I have your slide up.
Great, thank you, Joe, and thank you to the whole organization for putting on this conference. You know, I think this this is the community that in some ways have created the world that we're all living in now. You guys certainly go back a long way and have created a lot of the technology that drives the way that we live and age and have health. And we know that going forward, it's going to even accelerate. You know, technology change is happening fast. So thank you guys for hosting this this event that really focuses on the humanitarian aspects. We are at AARP are watching how technology is changing aging. As you mentioned, the number of people who are older are growing. The population is growing in America, where we're based, and worldwide. And we want to support in every way technology that helps people live, that enhances people's lives and helps people to grow old the way that they want to age, whether it be in their homes, with independence, with greater health outcomes, and safely connecting to others in new and exciting ways. We've recognized that there are certain barriers to a lot of the technology, the new technology and emerging technology that's coming out at an accelerated pace, and we are working with programs to address those barriers, whether it be who the products, the technology is designed for and tested on, or making sure that people have the right access, affordable access, to have to technology and be able to get online affordably. We know trust and privacy is a growing barrier with a lot of our members at AARP. So we want to do all we can to bridge the trust gap, awareness of what's new, what's happening, what's right for me, what can enhance my life today. It seems like it changes every day, Joseph. So I think that all we can do to get the word out on what's out there that is actually helpful. And then, of course, providing that knowledge and training and support. We have a number of programs across all of these areas. And then you'll see at the bottom kind of a cross-cutting program. You mentioned the United Nations. There's two programs at the United Nations I'd be happy to talk about. One is the aging, the Decade of Healthy Aging, which AARP is involved as a participant in some of the thought leadership and programming that's going on in that world. And then there's another area that has not yet been formally announced, but the United Nations Technology Envoy will soon be announcing a roadmap to address digital inclusion. And part of that will be several networks set up. And one of the networks will be a digital inclusion of older persons network. It will be co-hosted by AARP and the United Nations, and it will be officially launched. We had a soft launch last month, but we'll have a formal launch here in the next few weeks. I think that next year will really be a learning year. So we certainly welcome anyone who's interested in overcoming the barriers and finding solutions for digital inclusion for aging and older people globally. We'd love to invite you to be part of this journey as it kicks off here soon.
Okay. Great, thank you, Michael. And next up is pull up slide from Steve.
Great. Thank you, Joseph, and really appreciate the opportunity to join you and Michael on here, and for IEEE for inviting me to take part. I always love having these conversations. It seems like Michael and I chase each other around different conferences with opportunities to talk about these types of technologies. But as Joseph had shared, I'm with the Consumer Technology Association Foundation, which is the charitable foundation affiliated with a trade association, CTA, which many of you probably know from our annual trade show, CES, which we're very excited to have coming back to Las Vegas this January. But we set up this foundation about 9 years ago as a way to give back on behalf of the industry. And when we decided to create the foundation, we looked at where does the technology industry already do a lot of good work in philanthropy? And we realized there's a lot of great work with kids and STEM education and areas along those lines, which we highly encourage, and we think more needs to be done in that area. But rather than create another foundation looking in that area, we saw that both older adults and people with disabilities, which is the other half of our mission, were two growing yet underserved areas of philanthropy. So we set up this foundation, and we've been doing a number of programs over that time, looking at ways to really create greater awareness and ultimately get the technology in the hands of people in need so that they can live, work, and play independently in the way that they want to live, work, and play. I'm a big optimist and believer in technology, so I get excited about the opportunities that we're going to have a chance to talk about. How we do that as a foundation, it really breaks down to three main pillars of the work that we're doing. One of which is convening. So we have the opportunity as a charitable foundation and as a 501c3 to bring together the key stakeholders, whether it is in industry, whether it's in government, whether it's in nonprofits, academia, kind of across the board, and have these discussions about what's working, what's not working, how can we build the networks, bring together people who haven't been working together before to create that understanding to hopefully, ultimately, design better products that are going to work well for us. We also have a big focus on innovation, and that is a number of different programs that we run. Certainly with startup companies, we run a program, our Eureka Park startup contest, where we just ran our 6th contest, and we have 5 startup companies that we're giving free booths at CES and a little bit of funding, bringing them out, highlighting them throughout the week as a way to showcase some of the technologies that are doing really interesting work to address the needs of older adults and people with disabilities. We also run a pitch contest where we partner with AARP's Innovation Labs. They sponsor the contest every year at CES. We're really excited to be bringing that back in person this year. It looks like we're going to be able to showcase some smart home technologies this year as part of it. A lot of details still coming together, but once again, it's an opportunity to showcase the types of technologies that can make a difference in the lives of the people we're serving. And the last innovation piece is we just launched a brand new award, which we call the John and Jane Shalom Award to combat social isolation. And some of you may actually know John and Jane Shalom. John was the founder of AudioVox, now Vox International, and he was also the founding chairman of our foundation. And social isolation has been a major cause that John has championed with our foundation. And I think we'll probably get a chance to talk about why that's such an important issue. But we just launched that award. We're going to be announcing the first winner of that award at our upcoming Consumer Technology Hall of Fame dinner in November in New York. So really looking forward to doing that. And then the last piece is funding. We are a charitable foundation. We fund a number of nonprofit organizations all over the country, including Michael had highlighted Oats, which is now part of AARP, but we've been able to do a lot of great work with them to create that awareness and education. And really, it's amazing the work that they've been doing. But there's over the life of our foundation, we've given out over $5.8 million in funding to different nonprofits all over the country that are using technology to serve the needs of either older adults or people with disabilities. So really thrilled to be here and part of this conversation. So back over to you, Joseph.
Thank you very much. Great introduction from both of you. So for the audience in participation and participant, feel free to write in your question in the chat, and we will check the chat too. And we'll either have the speaker address it appropriately, or we wait till at the end, and then we'll also can touch base with you on some of the questions. So I do have a few questions to kind of kick off the conversation. Specifically, I mean, I jump around 2 conferences this particular week, and I mentioned to some of the speakers as we were logged in a few minutes early. So there's a venture fund called SOS Venture, SOSV, and they have a particular, they have a special event this week for startup that are engaging in climate technology. And they invite Bill Gates actually has yet another fund. He has lots of different funds, but this I think is a new fund. I think it's an impact fund because he described that the measurement for this fund to invest in startup doing climate technology is not all going to be measured on the return or the profit for the people investing in them. So in the space of the climate, we've seen different countries now have set deadlines and goals for no more combustion engine cars by 2030, 2035. Now, the question I have is, now, what do you see in terms of kind of similar goals that we are setting for the healthy aging, and what kind of timelines that will be reasonable to expect some of those to happen? Maybe we start with Steve, you?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'm an optimist and believer in technology and the opportunities that it's going to create as we look at the way that we all age and the healthy way that we can all age. But this is a major issue that needs to be addressed now. AARP's research shows that with the growing aging demographic, the ratio of caregivers to older adults is shrinking. I mean, it used to be over 7. By the end of this decade, it'll be around 4, and it's going to continue to go down from there. And I'm probably stealing Michael's talking points by quoting AARP research here. So I'm glad I got to go first. But, I really do see that, this is something that we need to look at, because while technology doesn't replace the people in this system, we need the in-person caregivers. Even as a technology person who really believes in technology, we can't replace the people in the system, but we're all going to really be burned out if we're trying to care for our loved ones with just the reduced number of people to do that work. So, technology can really serve as a tool to help enable us, whether it is, the health technology, whether it is transportation technology, robotics, and so on. There's a lot of great opportunities here. So it's not here's a deadline. If we don't hit this, it's the end of the world, but it's also something we can't ignore. So we definitely need to be focused on these issues.
Okay, great. Michael?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's the technology that's coming is assistive. It's assistive of people, like Steve said. It's assistive of healthcare. It's assistive of financial institutions. It's assistive of government. But there's definitely a need. It's interesting to think about what are those success factors, and Steve mentioned some of the of the tech trends that we've been reporting on. And if anybody's interested, you can just Google AARP tech trends and see the research that we're referencing. But it's interesting because the number of users, and this isn't in America, it's not global data, but people in America that are using smartphones and tablets that are in their 60s, 70s, 80s is reaching the same number as younger adults. So it's in the high 80 percentile range now, which is a big step forward. The whole idea that our older population is not connected through devices is not necessarily true anymore. So that's one factor. That's one thing. That's one measurement I think that we could point to as being a positive thing. The other side of the coin, though, is when you look down, you look a little bit deeper at how people are using the technology that they have. The numbers drop. The numbers drop pretty significantly for wearables and smart home devices and digital health products. People are not using. Older populations are not using the health tools and some of the social tools and some of the smart home tools, assistive tools that are available at the same rate as younger users, younger consumers, which is unfortunate because there's an argument that people who are aging and have some of the normal challenges that go along with aging could use this technology even more. So if we're looking at benchmarks, if we're looking at metrics, I would say, how many people are globally, to look at it globally, how many people are connected, how many people have smart technology, how many people are actively using the assistive technology tools that are available, and then drilling down into the barriers and seeing is there an equity issue? Is it globally? Is it related to language or gender or ethnicity or rural versus urban? And finding out, at each regional level, how do we cross those barriers and expand the marketplace? I think I know I'm rambling, and I apologize. I'm gonna just one more thing. The interesting thing about what you just teed up, Joseph, is on one hand, it's the right thing to do, to bring technology solutions to people who could use them the most. But on the other hand, it's expansion of market. So I think that the innovative companies that are out there creating new solutions and connecting people to healthy tools, that there's a profit there's profit that goes along with it just being the right thing to do, which is a double win.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because in the especially being in the middle of Silicon Valley, where we have a lot of VCs. Today, some of the VC already told me, Joseph, don't bring me a unicorn. Bring me a decacorn. I said, what's a decacorn? It's $10 billion worth startup, because I already have 3 or 4 of the unicorn in my portfolio, but I don't have a decacorn. So the part of the reason why I think there's so much investment around Silicon Valley, I think the ecosystem started like 30 years ago with the original VC that bet old companies like the original HP garage, right? HP first started in a garage, and that's why we have an old technology fund called Garage Tech Fund. The other thing I just want to just kind of touch base, share my personal experience. One of the market actually, or one of the segment of the market is not just for the older adults. Actually, it's for their family, the sons and daughters, the cousins, and because I'm going through myself now, caring for my parents. So I basically say, if I can put some connected technology in my parents' house, I don't have to keep driving over there. I'm lucky, right? I moved up here from Boston 20-something years ago, specific to be closer to my parents. But a lot of people are not in that same situation, especially in the United States, being so big, right? That the parents could be living in another state, and having the profit angle, I don't think there's anything wrong. And I think this is where we now need to now kind of having some of these discussions to raise the awareness that, hey, don't think about the older adults. They don't have a lot of money to spend, and Well, their sons and daughters might have a lot of money to spend if they can have the peace of mind that their parents are well cared of. Right? And the other thing is also maybe in a follow-on discussion, we'll bring some people from the government policies to perspective, because personally, I was born in Hong Kong, and so I'm still connected to a lot of friends and relatives in Asia. Hong Kong, Taiwan, they have a special visa actually for caregivers or workers, mostly not for the older adults, actually for the younger adults, because now in the Asia, it's very common to have dual income. The two parents working, and what do they do with the kids? So they actually have workers from the Southeast Asia who were brought into under special visa, and they can support the families who chose to have both parents work all the time. And I think in the United States, we can also start getting the the people who set the immigration policy to start thinking about that. So let me check if any question from the audience. So far, there's none. And I have another. Specifically, I think some of the points that Michael already touched upon is your organization supporting the United Nations new initiative of Decade of Healthy Aging. Is there anything else you want to expand on, Michael?
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned, there is a digital inclusion network that's kicking off with the United Nations, and I would just encourage everyone to look into that. I think, and Steve and I have had a chance to talk about, some of the solutions that might help connect people, and certainly access and infrastructure and costs and education is part of that. But I think an interesting area is design, and I know IEEE has a lot of deep understanding in the global university systems that are putting out amazing talent that are going to create the technology and products that we all will be using in the future. And I think one of the things we probably ought to put a little bit more time and effort into co-creating along with industry and our academic partners is, what are those programs? What are those global programs that we can initiate that will help the next generation of engineers and product designers and innovators to really understand at a deeper level the challenges that go along with aging and how healthy aging can be achieved through some of the new products and new technology standards that are coming out. I think that we've all seen the influx. It seems like an influx of younger, innovative, really smart students that are building amazing products without for themselves. So how do we build empathy for everyone while people are still at university? That's another area that we're thinking about locally in DC, and using the United Nations learning events to think globally around.
I think that's a great point because we've seen that all the time with talking to companies, and when we ask have you if you're aiming for an aging market, and we ask them okay, have you tested this with an aging market, and it's kind of, well, I tested it with my grandmother or my grandfather, and it's like, okay, you got an N of one, but to really get a good design, looking at ways to reach and engage, and not just with the testing, but looking at that co-creation that Michael raised. I think there's some really incredible opportunities to do this work, and I think this is an area that we're just starting to look at more of how to get into it. But there is so much or so many job openings right now. And we have a lot of people who have retired and maybe don't want to work full time, but there's an incredible amount of expertise in that retired population. So what are the ways to create those connections, utilize that expertise in a way that will, create better products and ultimately, give people, a real sense of value and engagement as well. So I think there's some really interesting opportunities. And yeah, we're excited to see that the UN has made this declaration, and the more attention that can come to the issue of aging, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, so getting ready for a poll to set the poll. So one of the I think CTA also is involved with setting standards. So and IEEE also is one of the major driving forces, because I was with a private company, NEC Corporation, that were encouraged to work with IEEE to form a universal wireless communication protocol. At the time, we started out, it's called IEEE 802.11, which later on coined as Wi-Fi, because now becomes ubiquitous, right? If we go to Starbucks. So how important do you think, so this is to set up the poll. So the question is standards for innovation for healthy aging. So Scott, can you set up the poll for not sure.
Can you see the poll?
Nope. I can see quick poll, but I didn't see the question and the option to say yes or no.
I just have the answers.
That's okay. So we don't have that many people. Maybe people could just raise their hands.
Oh, there we go. Someone answered.
Oh, someone answered. Maybe it's just me. I couldn't see the poll.
I think you guys can talk while
yeah,
the poll's running. I
cannot
think
see
we
the
can have up
poll,
to about
so,
nine people. So
yeah. Let me check. And any other question from the audience? I'd like to address the question first. Still, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I was having a hard time voting. I see some other people have had more success. I haven't been able to vote. I'm glad others have. I think it's interesting, the choices that are here. And, the other thing that's interesting to me, just looking at these choices, probably if you were to ask the same question before COVID versus, right now, when we're hopefully coming out of the global pandemic, I wonder how different the answers would be.
Right. So one of the things a plug for one of our IEEE fellow. He's a dean of engineering in the Cal State Northridge. So they actually have a master program in design for seniors and people with disability. It's a master class. It's a master in engineering class degree. Because one of the things that you typically see, especially on the mobile app, is that, oh, for the seniors, we just make the button a lot bigger, right? But that's not really optimized for the people from a user perspective. So there's a new also design term called co-development. Basically, you co-develop with the user with you, so that you are actually getting the firsthand input from the people actually using it, rather than, oh, this can be adapted for somebody else, which sometimes will work and sometimes might not work that well. So the other question I have for the panelists here is that, how do you see the most effective way for nonprofit, government, and private industry to foster technology innovations? Because now we do have United Nations that, not plug for IEEE. So this conference, Global Humanitarian Technology Conference, is focused on organizations supporting the United Nations 17 SDGs. So we all should fall under United Nations to work together, or do you have any other suggestion? Maybe we start with Steve this time.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity to really, working with nonprofits, working with government to highlight the challenges that are out there, and to be a little bit of that carrot that helps bring along the innovation. we have a policy with our association of we don't ask for any government money for the industry. So we're not looking for that, but I still think there's ways through these partnerships to help create the environment, help to create the regulatory structure that gets people looking at, what are these innovations, what are these challenges, and can be that, bully pulpit of standing there and talking about these issues and getting more people interested in addressing these innovations. I think there's also an opportunity for them to really help with engaging that older workforce in that co-creation area, being the real innovator and driver of programs like, there's the Encore program here in the United States to help people with second careers. So I think there's some opportunities along those lines.
Great.
An interesting idea, and that would be a really neat model. It's going to take ecosystems to really move the needle, because they're complex challenges, and they're only becoming more complex as artificial intelligence algorithms become more complicated and technologies collide and global standards change. So I think you're right, Joseph. It's private sector, it's nonprofit, it's governments, and it's academia. I would say that have to work together to learn from each other and figure this out. AARP's role is to represent the consumer in the conversation and help provide an understanding both within industry and within governments of what the consumer, what the challenges are, what the needs are, so that we can make better policy and create better products. The other interesting dynamic, and everybody understands this, the cycles for creating new innovation are so fast. It's coming so quickly, and the cycles for creating new policy or better policy or updating policy are so slow. So that's a mismatch when you have products that are happening fast and regulations that are happening slowly. So that's another issue that I think is going to just accelerate over the next 10 years, and we're going to have to really work hard across all the ecosystem of players to resolve that.
Okay, so we have another poll. I hope people can see it. So it's really a multiple, it's not multiple choice actually. The poll is: please select 3 of your top choices for your area of interest for tech innovation for healthy aging. 1 is mobility, cognition, social isolation, everyday assistance, transportation, and sight and hearing. And while we're waiting for people to vote, let me announce the result. I think people can see the chat too. So for the standards for tech innovation for older adult, is 86% say yes, 14% say no. So standards has both pros and cons. So, and also is international standards. I think that's also important rather than a country-specific standards. Give a few more. While people are still tabulating the votes, let me raise a question that came from audience.
Joseph, the poll is closed.
What's the result, Scott? Or you want to wait a little bit before?
It's in the chat.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So 75% cognition, 63% social isolation, 50% mobility. And then sight and hearing is 38, and transportation 38, and 25% everyday assistance. So those are the poll result from the audience. And one of the questions coming from the audience is we are working on a human-centered mobile health solution which focus on elderly care. We would like to get feedback on our early prototype. What might be some possible pathways to get the user feedback? Steve, you want to?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in. I'm sure Michael may have some good ideas as well. There's a number of great opportunities to do that. We've done a lot of work. Actually, there's one organization called Porch Senior Services, primarily in California, but they have a real interesting setup there where they pilot a lot of different technologies, and they have housing that ranges from low-income housing communities right up to they have one on the beach of La Jolla that I don't think I'm rich enough to walk through the front door, let alone stay there. So they've got and it's really diverse communities, different areas. So we've run a number of pilot projects with them, and I know they've worked with a lot of different technology companies. So they're one that I always highlight because they really do have a system set up. It's not necessarily a fully, like what you would get with a university of a fully, scientific research, but they do provide a lot of really good feedback and study with the products that they pilot there. There are universities, a lot of them across the country that will do this. Stanford's got their longevity center, MIT's got their age lab. We've done a lot of work actually with the University of Colorado. Their Center for Innovative Design and Engineering does a lot of really interesting work both for aging and disability. And I would guess, there's quite a few others as well. And there's a number of other senior communities and organizations. And then I'd also just raise, AARP again with their innovation labs and their accelerator program. And Michael could probably share a lot more about them than I can.
Yeah, and we have, it's actually an interesting week. We are launching the next iteration of that acceleration program called Age Tech Collaborative. The press release should be dropping any moment now, but it's open for business, the AARP Age Tech Collaborative. And that is an opportunity to work with AARP on design thinking challenges, and we will be setting up a feedback mechanism as part of that, but it's not set up. It's not set up quite yet. I would definitely say check that out and get in touch with those guys and apply to be in part of the pitch competitions that are ongoing. You don't have to win the pitch competition to be a part of it. It's just kind of an entry way. Steve mentioned there's a lot of companies out there, and I don't have a favorite. I've worked with a couple, but and then he mentioned universities. I do have two favorite universities that I'll mention in this space, because they actually have age labs that are set up as houses, and we've visited. We've been part of these. Their lab is set up to look like a house and feel like a house, and be able to get the feedback back to innovators like you in that type of setting. The two that we work with is University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana and their McKenna Life Home, and then Georgia Tech in Atlanta and their Life Hub Home, I think is the name of it. But those are two options as well. Great question.
So a plug for IEEE, which this is actually conference. So IEEE has about 30,000 now we call life members. So these are members who are over 65 plus 35 years of membership, combined is 100. And in the Silicon Valley section, the Santa Clara is officially it's called Santa Clara Valley section. We have 1,400 members just in the Silicon Valley, and you're welcome to connect with the chapter chair, Jeffrey Paulin. I think that they're also depending on the mobile app. Are you targeting the actual user who are the older adults, or are you targeting also to benefit their family members? So that's another consideration to look at where the best location for testing your mobile health application. Let me see if there are any additional questions. No.
But while you're looking, I'll say that's always the challenge with those types of digital health solutions, because the ultimate user is probably not the person that's purchasing it. It's either a family caregiver, or it could be recommended by a healthcare professional, or it could be part of a assisted living facility or primary care facility. So those are some real challenge. The model for delivering those types of solutions are really challenging.
Just a quick time check, Scott. So we conclude at 1:50. So we have 4 minutes. Is that correct, Scott?
Yep, that's about right.
Okay. All right. If there are no additional questions, now, so I have one more question. Maybe that is the way for the speakers to have the final conclusion of their close-up statements. It's about what they see as the key challenges for now and also 10 years from now. And it could be, you can address that question, or you could, if you have a closing statement, you can give your closing statement as well. It's up to you. Steve?
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I think there's absolutely some, I mean, this could be a whole long conversation about some of the challenges that are out there. You know, one of the big ones I'll say is the digital divide, and looking at how do we create easy and affordable broadband access, because I look at it as I'm funding all these organizations to get hardware, and the hardware is great, but if they're not connected to the internet, it really limits the opportunities. I think transportation is another big issue. The opportunity to really look at where how people can get out of their homes. A lot of people, especially as they age to the point where they lose the ability to drive, that is a major turning point in someone's life. And looking at all of a sudden, usually when people start to get out of the house at that point, it's because they're getting a friend or family member to take them to a medical appointment or things along those lines. Whereas that's where I see the opportunity for self-driving vehicles to really be an incredible opportunity for innovation and independence. So we've seen some really interesting work along those lines. My third is I'm looking for my Rosie the robot. I want something that can go in, do all my chores for me. And quite frankly, I want that now, let alone as I'm aging. But I think that there is a lot of opportunities in the robotic space. We see a lot of the single purpose robots now, but I think we'll see more and more to come. But and just in closing, certainly, if people are interested in the work that the CTA Foundation's doing, they can find it at ctafoundation.tech. And as an association foundation, I feel like I need to, while I'm here with IEEE, just give a good plug in for the IEEE Foundation and Karen Gallucci and the folks there. I know there's opportunities, especially for lifetime members, to put in requests for funding for humanitarian programs and things along those lines. So I think there's a lot of great things that IEEE can do in this space as well. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Steve. Michael?
Yeah, I think those were 3 or 4 really good examples, really good challenges that are growing, and the digital divide, and transportation, and robotics. I might just add a couple of others that really are directly related to the healthy, to growing old, and fully utilizing the innovations to stay healthy. I think one of the challenges is going to be data. I think that all of the sensors and artificial intelligence, predictive analytics, and therapeutic devices are all going to run on data. And whether most of it's not HIPAA data, it's not protected. But how do you combine HIPAA data and not HIPAA data? How do you give that data to the healthcare professionals so that they can do a better job of providing care? Just taking the fragmentation and bringing it together into a cohesive wellness experience, I think is a huge challenge. That's going to be cool. Not the technology is coming fast. The unification of the technology is a challenge. And then secondly, I mentioned the clinicians. It's the workflows of the clinicians are going to have to be adjusted as healthy healthy aging technology, digital health and therapeutics, and elderly care products like the one mentioned, mature and the capabilities mature, it has to integrate into the clinician's workflow. It has to, the doctor has to use that data and provide care with that data. And I think that's going to be another hurdle that we're all going to have to help work on driving down. I think telehealth was an interesting case study. Nobody would, the clinicians would not allow for telehealth, even though it helped people who couldn't get to the doctor until the pandemic happened. And now everybody's had a telehealth visit. So what's it going to take to get some of the new innovations included in the healthcare system, and who's going to pay for them? Is it, who's responsible for paying for those? I'll stop right there because we could probably go a long way down those paths.
Yeah, so let me just summarize. So here's the slide and contact information with the QR code. You have your smartphone, you can just scan and you get our email addresses quickly that way. And hopefully this is only the start to kick off the conversation amongst the three organizations, IEEE, AARP, and CTA Foundation. And we would like to have more of this topic because I think it is a very important upcoming challenge for that impact many people. And IEEE, when we talk about the digital divide, as a matter of fact, a couple of days ago, IEEE Future Network has a conference coming up in November to talk about how 5G can be used to bridge the communication with 3 billion people on Earth that are not connected today. So hopefully through my work and also my affiliation with volunteering with IEEE, I can be the conduit to help bring more collaboration amongst all 3 organizations. So I thank you everyone who attended this meeting, and feel free to send us an email afterwards for any type of questions and follow up. Again, thanks for IEEE for hosting this meeting. Thank you.